Well, New England has been an interesting situation, an interesting market for natural gas for a long time. You know, back in the early days, they actually built one of the very first natural gas import terminals in the for the United States, and primarily was being used to handle winter peaking loads for natural gas. Because of the cold weather, it was used for space heating in residences, in commercial facilities, as well as in industrial plants, but also used to create electricity. In other words, for electric power plants that were fueled by natural gas. And as New England grew in terms of population and in terms of its economy, eventually it reached a point where the two major pipelines, in addition to the LNG facility, the two major pipelines, Tennessee Gas Pipeline and Algonquin, that delivered gas to this area, basically reached the limit of their capacity to deliver in the wintertime. So during the summertime, there's not really too much of a problem, but during the wintertime, when it's really, really cold, they just couldn't get any more gas coming through. So a few years ago, there was actually quite a bit of activity and a couple of major projects which were proposed by each one of these companies to try to address this problem, because in the wintertime prices were going up, 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 and just really, really, really peaking. And so because of that, they felt like expansions of those pipelines in one way or another would be something that could solve that problem. Unfortunately, these projects ran into various headwinds. There were some regulatory issues that couldn't be overcome. There was a lot of resistance to building any more new pipelines that came from various environmental companies and so forth. And so in the end, those pipelines were not built. And what that meant was that essentially the New Englanders as a group or a whole decided that they would rather suffer through the high prices in the winter rather than trying to attack the problem by building greater supply into New England of natural gas. On the other hand, another thing that's been happening is, on a small scale, there has been some more LNG imports, actually, strangely enough, from Canada, and not by ship, but by truck tanker. So a lot of these industries that couldn't get gas in the wintertime are now paying very high prices to import gas that from Canada that might have been produced in Alberta or BC, brought over into Ontario and Quebec, and then converted into liquefied natural gas, and then brought by truck into New England. So it's a very expensive way of going, and probably they could have saved a lot of money if they had allowed one or more of these pipeline projects to succeed, but they did not, and so they're kind of in that rush. The other sort of interesting thing that happened a couple of years ago is, right in the middle of this, in one winter, New England actually received a shipment of LNG into that terminal, the Everett terminal there, right very close to Boston, that had originated in Russia. So this means that the United States had imported LNG produced in Russia. It had moved first from a terminal in the northern part of Russia over into Europe, and then was reloaded into another tanker, and then shipped to the Boston area for final delivery. So this made the headlines, that the U.S., because it had not allowed those pipelines to be built, ended up in a situation where we had to import LNG from Russia at the same time that we were exporting lots of LNG from the U.S. Gulf Coast, Texas and Louisiana. So it was a rather strange phenomenon that happened as a result of various laws, and also the inability of the pipelines to get agreement from the people and the various stakeholders in the New England area to build those pipelines.